Hi, so in a rare departure from my usual World of Warcraft content on this channel, this is a really great resource from Dungeons and Dragons. And of course, I know as any fantasy role-playing game fans, there's probably quite a number of you, I know there's quite a number of you who are actually interested in Dungeons and Dragons yourself, may not know about this. It seems to be quite a new resource. You could have knocked me down with a feather when I was reading through MMO Champion the other day. And I saw a link to this, and at first I thought it was something to do with Dungeons and Dragons Online, a game I've never really got into. I tried it, probably about 8 years ago, and thought, what the hell is this shit? This is pretty amazing. Now, what it is there's like character creation segments on it, monster creation segments, items, things like that. It's basically what I view it as a really useful resource for Dungeons and Dragons players, in particular, maybe non-GMs. Or DMs, what you prefer to call them. So there are some tools for Dungeon Master. I say like monster creation, you're not going to have a standard player playing that. But I think the idea of this is, let's say you're a player and you're not the one with the full set of books. You don't need everyone in the group, of course, to have their own set of books. Usually it's the Dungeon Master who is the most committed one and tends to have those. So it allows you to create a character without having to leaf through all the tomes. It's really good for that. There's a sort of login attached to it. So I'm just going to go through some of the general bits. Now I'm going to have a little trip down nostalgia lane because this is like my first ever fantasy role-playing game. So into the rules section. There's three main sections. There's the rules section. It doesn't give you all the rules for free, bear in mind. There's the character creation section, and then there's the homebrew section, which is where it's got like community created things. So you can view the rule sources. And, you can buy them online and get digital versions as well, for example. But it's at least showing you what there is available. So that's in that section. And then, as I say, there's the homebrew content where you've got community-created spells, magic items, monsters, blah, 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 blah. All very interesting. There's forums attached to it as well. So it's even got a forum specifically for people who stream or do videos. So you could check through that if there's anything of interest. I haven't checked through that yet. But what is, particularly good, I'm going to just look first of all at the characters, the classes. It tells you a little bit about each one, for example. You can click on details. For example, we'll click on Barbarian details. It tells you a little bit more about them. Tells you what abilities they get at different levels. And it's just an amazing resource for people who play this game. Now, and I would check that out, and it's on, dndbeyond.com. I'll put it up there. I'll put a link in the description below, of course, as well, so you can check it out yourself. So I'm not going to go through everything it does now, but this is the point where I do my little nostalgia tour. And as used to be traditional, and probably should be again, whenever I talk about nostalgia, I should have my rose-tinted glasses. And this is, especially for the people who sort of watch my World of Warcraft content. Sometimes people ask me why I play a paladin. Why I play a paladin comes from long before World of Warcraft came out. Long before even Warcraft came out. And it's when I first started to play Dungeons and Dragons. And when I started to play Dungeons and Dragons, I'm almost certain it was 3rd edition. I'm very certain it was 3rd edition. I have quite a lot of the books of 4th edition. A whole bookshelf full of 4th edition books. But now this is 5th edition Battlecats. I've never played 5th edition. It's a long time since I played any edition of this as well. So what I want to have a look at is... and again, my memory may play tricks on me here. But when I started playing Dungeons and Dragons, there were 5 of us in the group. I only played a bit. It was like a summer when I went away visiting cousins. And I played a wizard. The main reason for that is in the group there was like someone who's going to be the dungeon master. And the standard group, if you've got 4 players, and 4 players is a good number of players, I always found. Again, I don't play this a lot. I don't know whether more experienced players might have different views on it. I think, when I say players, I'm like the dungeon master is one. I'm not counting that as a player, but in terms of the player characters, you can get away with 3. I think 3 is decent, and I think I think 4 is the perfect number. But more than 4 is like, it just becomes, to my mind, a little bit unwieldy. I think you'd have to be very, very close friends to get away with doing it and any bigger thing than that. and need to take an increase. I think with every extra player, to have a decent session, you need, not necessarily an exponentially increasing amount of time, but I think out of proportion amount of time, because of course all the conversations that are going to be going on just increase out of proportion. So the standard ones seem to be the one that sort of covers most bases: fighter, cleric, thief, and wizard. So the others were sort of covered, and I thought, well, I'll play a wizard. I like wizards. This is as someone who's only up to this point read fantasy stuff or watched films, not actually played any fantasy games, other than some very basic computer games. So I started playing this. I wasn't hugely keen on it. A lot of the time you weren't doing a great deal. It seemed to me, of course I could have been playing it wrong, but I didn't seem to be doing it. And also I kept finding myself wanting to be more useful than offensive. And it was sort of suggested to me by the group, maybe, in terms of what I was talking about and what sort of character I would like. And bear in mind, I wasn't looking through a book that had all these things in it. I just had it suggested to me to play a wizard. And they suggested a paladin, and you look at this, and I thought, yeah, this is it. This is what fits. So it's very much the paladin of Dungeons and Dragons that's led me, whenever I've played any role-playing game since, if there's a paladin archetype or anything even close to a paladin archetype, that tends to be the one I pick. So the only time I don't, as mains, play paladin archetypes is when they don't actually exist in that game. And so it tells you something about here, a little bit of a story, what they're in aid of, because of course you should role play these correctly. But therein lies the beauty of it. What you should really do is not pick a class and then try and role play that class. You should think about how you would like to role play in the game, and you don't have to necessarily pick one that fits your personality. You're role playing; it could be completely opposite personality, and but you pick one that you would like to role play, and then choose the class appropriate to it, and you're gonna have much more fun. And and you can see here some of the things that like the two pillars, I would say, of all of the greatest fantasy role-playing games. The two key pillars have always been Tolkien, of course, who underpins everything. And I think the reason for that is when you're developing a game system, of course, Dungeons and Dragons itself, like everyone else, takes an awful lot from Tolkien's creations. When you're developing a game system, it's usually a few guys in a garage or in an attic. And what they need to do is make sure that the game is good, that the game is fun to play. That is what is crucial. But with a fantasy game, you obviously need a background story and a world to set it in. Now, all of this can take a long time. So I guess what happens is that they spend their time creating the game, and then they just create a world that why not model it on Tolkien's world? It was so amazing, and everyone would have grown up. Everyone that develops his game would have grown up on Tolkien's books and stories. So why not just pin it onto that? And then over the when the game becomes successful, you start to add in more and more. You would have added some stuff in of your own, of course, but you add in more and more of your own stuff, more and more storylines. But nonetheless, there's some basics that are always there. Orcs appear to be one of the things, and it really doesn't matter. Like, you can look at Warhammer, you can look at Warcraft, the Elder Scrolls, specifically for computer games, like as well, RuneScape, EverQuest. All of these things have got really clear links to both Tolkien and even Dungeons and Dragons, and I mean the non-Tolkien Dungeons and Dragons stuff. And here, again, it sort of shows you, and you can. Now, where I'm looking at this, I'm not actually scrolling through the website proper. I've loaded the website onto this program that I'm recording with here, so it's not behaving exactly as it would on a website. So I can't just hover over things and it comes up, because my icon is only interacting with it, or it does there if you leave it for a little bit, but mostly when I click it. But here's some of the stuff that really, like, lay on hands was absolutely classic for me, because as a paladin, it means I could get myself stuck into combat. So, in a general situation or a general combat situation, if I had nothing specific to do, I could still crack heads open. That's what appealed to me. With the wizard, I always felt like I was just trying to stay out of harm's way when I wasn't doing wizardy stuff. Whereas the paladin just gets stuck in, and then you've got all these useful things. And I very much liked the fact that I was useful, that I could come in handy. And And, you know, I used to watch as well, before I watched this, the Dungeons and Dragons cartoon series from the 70s. I was watching it in the 80s. That was fun. There was no paladin archetype in that as well. So, you know, I wouldn't have got anything from that. I mean, Eric was supposed to sort of be, wasn't he? He was supposed to be a cavalier, which was supposed to be a paladin archetype. Of course, he was very un-paladin-like in his nature. So I sort of never really thought about it from that. So this was the first time playing this game that I was ever even introduced to a paladin archetype, really. But I took to it straight away. So what I'm going to do now, I mean, that just shows you what you can do in general. I'm going to click back at the beginning. I'm going to actually have a go at creating a character. So what we've got here, choose one of 3 ways to create a character. So standard, create a character by making choices using a step-by-step approach. Yeah, I think we'll do that. I mean, ideal for beginners as well. I certainly would be at the moment, wouldn't I? Creating a character. So it tells you a little bit about them. I'm just going to skip through there. Thete's character name. Thete. My name Thete comes from this as well. That's what I called it. I was very much into... what have I done there? I was very much into like the Greek Odysseys and stuff like that. Let's have a look. Does that give you different portrait options? Oh, it does. Oh, fantastic. You can even upload your own. Let's have a look. Is anyone? Oh, that looks all right, doesn't it? Yeah, we'll go with that for now. Allow custom content to use this character. Why not? I'm not actually making it for a real game. Now, I mean, this is interesting, isn't it? I mean, when I played it, it was all about XP, which seemed to me, it's finding a computer game, terribly fiddly thing to deal with pen and paper. Milestone, loads better, isn't it? Story-based character progression. Yeah, loads better. Encumbrance, use encumbrance. What are the options here? No encumbrance, variant encumbrance, just using, I don't know. Hit point type, yeah, why not fix? Let's remove the vagaries of RNG, shall we? So again, there's more sort of information there. So choose a race. So you can have basic rules, elemental, evil, player's companion. Can't have that for a paladin. Player's handbook. I'm just going to go for basic, aren't I? I'm just going to go for a man. Human. Boring human, but never mind. Let's have a look. Gives you most flexibility. Humans tend to be the most flexible in most RPG systems. Languages, get a choice of languages as well as common. So let's have a look. What language should I be able to speak? There's a paladin. Abyssal, not really appropriate. Celestial, possibly. Definitely is a holy warrior. Could be. Deep speech, draconic. Dwarvish, maybe. Elvish, maybe thinking about your companions. It probably, I mean, you might choose this one based upon who else is going to be in your party. You know, maybe I imagine there's going to be an elf in there. I think, well, I get on with that character, so I will probably know Elvish. Now, choose the class. There's no choice to be made here. We're going for a paladin. So, primary ability, strength and charisma. Hit die, D10. Wisdom and charisma saves. Hit points, blah, 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 blah. Great. Right then, so. Proficiencies, get to choose 2 proficiencies. So I can choose 2 from athletics, insight, intimidation, medicine, persuasion, and religion. I suppose there's a paladin. Religion ought to be 1. And insight, I think. Insight. I mean, persuasion could have been possible. Medicine could have been possible as well, but I think those 2. Divine sense, which is I get at first level. So the presence of strong evil registers on your senses like a noxious odour, and powerful good rings like heavenly music in your ears. As an action, you can open your awareness to detect such forces. Until the end of your next turn, you know the location of any celestial, fiend, or undead within 60 feet of you that is not behind total cover. You know the type, celestial, fiend, or undead, of any being whose presence you sense, but not its identity. Within the same radius, you also detect the presence of any object, or place or object that has been consecrated or desecrated, as with the Hallow spell. You can use this feature a number of times equal to 1 plus your charisma modifier. When you finish a long rest, you regain all expended uses. And also get lay on hands. So your blessing can heal wounds. You have a pool of healing power that replenishes you when you take a long rest. With that pool, you can restore total number of hit points equal to your paladin, blah, 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 level. I mean, that was always really useful. So, just going to keep going there. It tells you about different ways of generating your... Because the way it works is with your 6 stats. So you roll... The general way is you sort of roll dice to determine them, and then you get 6 scores. There's a bad luck protection aspect to it, like you get a re-roll if it's below a certain amount, as I recall, something like that. I'm going back as the distant recesses of my memory here, but essentially you had your 6 things. Then you decided which score went with which ability, so it allowed you to make sure that your primary stat was the biggest one you'd scored, and so on. So choose a generation method. We'll just do standard array. So it's rolled for me. So let's... Oh, no. Okay. Oh, it's just giving me... So strength I'm going to put as 15. I mean, charisma needs to be quite high. 14. I'm just going to put constitution and dexterity like that. And wisdom and intelligence. I mean, you need intelligence. I've got a big sword. I'm going to smash your brains out. I'll be more intelligent than you then. So it tells you your modifiers here. So charisma there. So any charisma roll I make, and as a paladin I might be making several, I get to add +2 to it. Intelligence has got -1 modifier, so I ought to steer clear of trying to use my brain. Wisdom, no real modifier there. Dexterity, I get an extra modifier. That used to be useful for like armor, for like Thaco. I don't know whether... I'm not sure if Thaco's still in the game. Which is to hit armor class 0. And the way that works is you, like a lot of these role-playing games, there's 2 dice rolls to determine whether you hit and damage something. There's the hit roll, first of all. So you roll your thing. You add, or you did do anyway, you added your opponent's armor to it, to your roll. And you had to sort of meet your sort of Thaco. So obviously the worse their armor, like a big score on armor was worse than like a negative score was ideal. And so that determined whether you hit it. And then you just roll your damage dice to determine how much damage you did. So armor really didn't, at the time anyway, whether it still does I don't know, affect the damage, as you might expect. It affects whether or not you hit. Along with dexterity. So dexterity improves your ability there. At the same time, it's not talking about any addition thing to armor. So maybe it might be different now. Might be different. Describe your character background. But here's where it's really good, because you don't have to just come up with your own backstory. You can choose. You've got drop-down menus. So what you're going to be, an acolyte, criminal or spy? Not at all appropriate for a paladin. Folk hero, possible. Noble, possible. Sage, not with my intelligence. Or soldier. So I'm going to be a devout, religious, holy warrior type. So I'm going to be an acolyte. So there we go. You have spent your life in the service of a temple to a specific god or pantheon of gods. You act as an intermediary between the realm of the holy and the mortal world, performing sacred rites and blah, 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 blah. Right, suggested skill professions, insight and religion. Well, I've already picked those, haven't I? Did I already pick those before? Have they now been removed at this point? So, suggested... Yeah, because they've gone now. I'd already picked those. So then, let's have a look. I can choose more skills, can I? Acrobatics might be useful. But if you've got a thief in the party, maybe there'll be more given to that. Animal handling? Arcana? No. Athletics, maybe. Deception? No, not appropriate for a paladin. History? Oh, yeah, let's be a scholar. Intimidation... Or survival, yeah, paladin survival. Suggested languages, so pick 2 now. So Elvish would have gone now because I already picked that. Let's pick. Let's say there's a dwarf in the party. Let's speak the languages of the people I'm grouping with. Of course, I'm not saying there is an elf and a dwarf, but let's say there was. And then celestial, I think. Yeah, I think so. So, shelter of the faithful. As an acolyte, you command the respect of those who share your faith, and you can perform the religious ceremonies of your deity. You and your adventure can expect to receive free healing and care as a temple, shrine, or other established presence of your faith, though you must provide any material components needed for spells. Those who share your religion will support you, but only you, at a modest lifestyle. You might also have ties to a specific temple dedicated to your chosen deity or pantheon, and you have a residence there. Stuff like that. Equipment now. Here we go. Inventory. Currently have no items. So, add items. So you get to start off with a few. How many am I allowed? Does it say how many I'm allowed? Seems to, I don't know. Let's have some armor at least. Medium armor breastplate. Got to think about encumbrance. You have heavy armor, that's fine, but it's heavy. So we don't need to be awesome to begin with. We're just gonna add. Have I added that? Yes, I have. Right, okay. So add items again. So let's do weapons. So what weapon do I want? I don't want to use my fist. So I could use a great sword. I'm always a fan of dual wielding, but let's go with standard stuff to begin with. Nice great sword. And so I've got some armor. I could have more armor, but I've got some armor. I've got a weapon. Ring, maybe a magical ring or something, or other gear. What's in the other gear stuff? No. Let's have a look. Ring of mind shielding. I think I'll get some abilities along those lines as a paladin anyway, don't I? Oh, ring of free action. That'd be nice. We'll have a ring of free action. Right, so there's my inventory. I might as well equip them all. You might almost think about taking like a healing potion or something, but I'm sure the Dungeon Master would be nice with a brand new set of characters as long as you use your brains. I mean, that's the thing about the game, of course. The Dungeon Master is like people talk about, like in role-playing games on computers. Oh, they're looking forward to this game. It's going to be a proper sandbox game. People keep talking about sandbox games. There's no such thing as a computer. I've seen people insist that, this game is a great sandbox game, and it never is. I think what people perceive as a sandbox game is simply a game that allows them to do what they want to do. It's not actually sandbox. They're all, to some extent, theme park, if you must describe them in those terms. The only way to get a sandbox game is this. This is the ultimate sandbox game. And the Dungeon Master, of course, will, they're there to facilitate adventures. They're not there to try and kill you off as such. Obviously, if you're going to be a damn fool, then you'll face the consequences of being a damn fool. But generally speaking, there we go. So view character sheet. And then there was an export there, so presumably you can do that into a form where it would print. And there you go. So, without need to thumb through a huge tome on classes and then the standard player book as well, you can create your character. And so there you go. There's the sort of story of my character creation as or why I'm a paladin in World of Warcraft and how this all started. And as I say, if you are into Dungeons & Dragons, I would definitely recommend this. It does look really good. I did have, it's not the only digital help I've seen. I used to have, I still probably have somewhere, a CD that did this sort of thing, or not onto this level, but helped to create character sheets and stuff like that. Probably won't work now because I've got Windows 10 on this. Nothing else works with Windows 10. I doubt that would. It's years old. Oh, do you know what? This brings back memories, doesn't it? Brings back a lot of memories. But there we go. Hope you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share. My normal content, however, though, is World of Warcraft. If you've come across this as a Dungeons & Dragons player, but if you are a Dungeons & Dragons player and you've not heard of this, it has only just come out this week, then it is absolutely fantastic. And you can spend hours just leafing through it. If you're not a Dungeons & Dragons player, just reading through it. There's some interesting stuff in there. And yeah, maybe it's got me thinking maybe I want to get myself a set of 5th edition books now. and start reading through again. But anyway, thanks for watching, and until next time, I'll see you later.